I'm Blake Farmer, and this is Nashville. Well, our voicemail has never been so busy as this week, and understandably so. We are all going through something. 20% of Nashville still in the dark and cold. Outage rates are even higher in Hickman County, more like 1 in 4. School is out for who knows how long. Cleanup efforts having a real hard time getting going, or at least getting much momentum, because it's still so cold and icy. The National Guard is getting to work, and this hour we're going to touch on a lot of it, but we're going to start with some of these messages.
Hi, this is Mary, and I work at Vanderbilt University Medical Center. We and a lot of other people have been staying at hotels near campus so we can get to work safely, and I do feel really fortunate to have heat and power. The hotels haven't raised their prices, but the city and state hotel taxes here add about 20 or 30% extra cost to the price. So I wanted to ask whether the mayor and governor could consider waiving these taxes for local residents who are having to stay at hotels because of the power outages. This would really help us out a lot. Thank you. This is Nashville on WPLN for all your great reporting during these tough times.
Mary, thanks for the call. And maybe some elected leaders are listening to that idea about waiving hotel taxes while people are in hotels. We know at least one is listening because we're about to talk to him. So I drove south down Granny White last night through Oak Hill and Forest Hills. And the hill, I always call it the S-curve, going up to Radnor Lake, it is unbelievable. Worst I've seen. And as of yet, I mean, not a lot of power crews working, though I did hear from a neighbor down that way that they had power restored this morning, so who knows. But lines are still a real tangled mess and trees that have just barely been cleared. And that's where Jackie Byram called in from.
Hey, Blake, I was just listening to This is Nashville, and I wanted to mention one thing. All the representatives from Metro Water, from NES, they give us an outage map to look at or a website to tune into. But we're over here in 1860 with a transistor radio from 1960, sitting in front of a gas fireplace. So there is no outage map. There is no web page to pull up. Please tell these people that they're talking to people in the 1800s. Please give us some other information other than a web page and an outage map to look at, because we are not in a hotel. We're on Overton Lee across from Mayor Grimes.
That's Oak Hill Mayor Dale Grimes, who was on the show yesterday. And like you, like you, Jackie, kind of getting her information from, his information rather, from the radio. We'll get to some more messages coming up. We welcome your voicemails. The number is 615-751-2500. What issues are coming up for you as we look at a long recovery from the storm? We're pulling together our shows for next week and would love to hear what concerns or questions you might have. 615-751-2500. One of the latest developments is the arrival of the National Guard, brought in under a state active duty order. Metro Emergency Management Chief William Swan talked about the military arriving in yesterday's press briefing.
Basically, personnel power. They're there for muscle. They'll be removing debris, help move trees, get them off power lines, so that, again, the question about NES and the power lines, this will help out our resources that we have locally in Davidson County. They're doing this throughout Tennessee, and now they'll be able to come into Davidson County as well to assist us. Their job will be to remove trees and to help our NES partners, our NDOT partners, and TDOT to remove debris. So that's their role and their objectives, and that's their only objectives, is to assist us into helping to restore power.
And you hear Chief Swan there trying to make clear that this is a limited engagement. And in fact, the order they're brought in on does keep it expires essentially on February the 5th from what we've seen. But still, we heard from some listeners who are worried, especially in this moment when the Guard has been used in cities all over for law enforcement, as close as Memphis, though brought in under a different law. India Pungarcher reached out and expressed strong concern about the Guard's presence and what it could have on, what sort of effects it would have on Black and brown and immigrant neighbors. Let's hear from her.
This weather emergency should remind our leaders of what truly makes Nashville safe. Adequate shelter, infrastructure that can support continued weather extremes, food resources, free transportation, anything but the militarization of our city and its resources. We don't need armed personnel to hand out food and clear debris. We could equip and support people who are already boots on the ground, making this work happen all across the city.
Well, joining us now live on the line is State Representative Caleb Hemmer, a Democrat representing some of those hardest hit areas south of Green Hills, and signed on to the letter that was asking for the Guard to be activated in Davidson County. Welcome to This is Nashville, Representative Hemmer.
Thank you for having me, Blake.
Well, what is the Guard's mission here in Davidson County?
Well, great. Well, thanks again for having me. And right now, our priority is really just getting this power restored, the roads cleared, and communities back online as fast as possible. The National Guard is really been deployed in Nashville and as well as across the state to provide assistance, particularly for vegetation removal to these local communities that are hardest hit, much like Nashville.
Well, you were listening there to some of these concerns. I mean, even the thought of this comment about not needing, armed personnel to use chainsaws. Would the Guard be armed doing this kind of work?
My understanding, the only thing they'll be armed with is a chainsaw, and so I understand concerns of the communities, but we have a natural disaster that is akin to what a lot of communities have, in a hurricane. I've talked to other utility executives, et cetera. It's seen that the damage we have with the number of poles down, the number of lines, the trees, the sheer carnage that we've seen across our community, sadly. And so, we are laser focused on, particularly as the weather is getting and staying cold and allowing this to be festering. We're trying as hard as we can to get these power back on so people can be safe and we can get back to business as usual here in Nashville.
But can you understand where some of these concerns are coming from in this political moment?
I definitely understand the concerns, but I think historically you need to look at what the National Guard has been utilized for, and this has been one of the main tenets. And these are Tennesseans; they are here to help. They're brought in as assisting. I mean, I've heard of one. One National Guard crew is following around NES crews, working to accelerate. And I think if you ask the number of people, particularly the thousands in my community that I serve, that they're without power for going on 5 days now, and will likely be a few more days in many places. That they're willing to take any and all help that we can get. And I would say it's not just the Guard. The governor's executive order is allowing additional state resources from TDOT crews are now able to go on county roads. TWRA agents, Department of Ag foresters who are very, very good at removing debris. We're utilizing any and all state resources to help the local communities get back online as quickly as possible. With this weather getting as cold as it is going to be this coming weekend as well, again, we're on day 5 of this. We want to really accelerate this and try to get people back online, get their homes heated, and get people safe as quick as possible.
Well, we heard from Metro Emergency Director Chief William Swan say the Guard has been elsewhere in the state, but is now coming to Nashville. As you said, this is pretty typical use of the National Guard. Did it require Davidson County representatives requesting them to come specifically? Like, were we holding them off for a time?
I don't believe that's the case.
Okay.
Under my impression, what happened under the initial governor's emergency declaration, that TEMA is able to deploy National Guard as well as other resources per the missions that they see what is needed. They meet daily, sometimes multiple times a day with the Office of Emergency Management and related entities of every county across the state. As well as, with legislators, we have our almost daily briefings as well. And so they're really just learning, trying to quarterback and see where resources are needed. If additional resources are needed, typically what happens is the request comes through the county Office of Emergency Management. And so where the Davidson County legislative members like myself and a few others have requested is now some of these communities are coming back online. Well, Nashville is still struggling. We've just had so much damage. I think that people, I saw a really interesting map that showed the totals of the ice. And if you look at that map, there's a little red dot around Nashville that shows that we had almost 50% more ice than the surrounding counties. And my areas got particularly hard hit because that's where most of the mature trees were. So you had more trees. Obviously, we've had more problems. And so you look at this in totality, all we're really trying to do is focus on restoration, safety, and supporting these local crews, not enforcement or any patrol activities.
Yeah. Well, everybody wants to know, well, when does everybody get back? And you were sort of hinting that it's going to be a while yet. What are you telling people in your circles who live on one of these streets in, Forest Hills, Oak Hill, or Belmead, wherever, and are seeing like lines laying in the ground, trees all over the place? Like, how long for them? Another week?
Yeah, I've been very hesitant to say, any dates because I don't control that and I don't know. I'm like many people in Nashville without power, without water. In fact, I had to evacuate my own house out of safety concerns because I have a lot of trees around my house that were falling rapidly with a young family.
Yep.
So I get it. I'm living it. I'm living it as well. What I am saying is we are working as diligently as possible, coordinating resources with NES, with state resources to really knock this out as quickly and as efficiently as possible.
All right. Well, do you have odds, though, on whether our children's school, since they go to the same place, is going to be open on Monday?
I hate to say it, but I'm not. I wouldn't bet on that now. Is the way I see it. I think that's another thing people to be aware of. Different parts of the county have had different levels of impact. In order for the schools to get going, the whole county's roads have to be cleared and safe for every kid to go to school. And just with the weather, the way it is and the way things are still languishing, it's doubtful, in my opinion.
Well, Representative Hemmer, thank you so much for joining us here on This is Nashville.
Thank you for having me.
All right, well, let's talk education for a moment. I also have my doubts, having been around the hard-hit parts of the county, whether Metro, anyway, would be back on Monday. So I'm with Representative Hemmer there. But there's been no decision for most schools for next week, and that is why we've brought in our expert. WPLN education reporter Camelia Burris is with us. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Blake.
All right, so Camelia, I know you've been talking to people with kids of all ages. Can you tell us with any confidence how families are faring this week?
Well, families are struggling like most of people in Tennessee. I spoke to a mother who lost power, and her son's birthday was actually coming up. I actually talked to two parents, and both of them had kids who had birthdays this week.
Really?
So, yes, it was a coincidence. But one of them, it was kind of a little bit of a good story. The power came on about 2 hours before midnight, right before her son's birthday.
Wow.
So they had a little pizza party because they finally had power. So that was a positive story.
I like that. Tell me about the other one. Less positive?
Well, the first parent, she has a teenager. So she's able to still kind of do her work while her son entertains himself.
Yeah.
But the other parent, she has two small children, a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. And she was talking about how difficult it is for her to keep doing her remote work while taking care of these children.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it. I have this job that removes me from child duties a lot of days, but my wife is not getting much of her work done this week. Camelia, talk to me about schools. I mean, obviously I would expect that we'll start to see private schools going back here. Public schools seem to be basically all out for the rest of the week, at least in our listening area. Is that what you're seeing?
Yes, they're all out for the rest of the week. And I actually found out last night that the school district in Nashville will be out of their available inclement weather days on Friday. So, but they can issue a state waiver to ask for to waive the 180-day requirement, and that is available in cases of natural disasters. I'm not sure if this would qualify, but seems like it.
So you're saying that they'll be out of snow days basically after this week. You know, kind of amazing to me, but my kindergartner came home with a laptop from her metro school last week, as if they might do some virtual schooling. Is there any thought that they might start doing virtual school early next week?
Yeah, so one of the parents told me the same thing, and I spoke to a spokesperson from Metro Nashville Public Schools earlier this week, and he said that remote learning wasn't really an option right now because obviously so many people don't have power. But he also mentioned that they didn't need it at the time. This was probably Tuesday because they still had enough inclement weather days.
Right.
But since it was over on Friday, I'm not sure what will happen. And people were talking about the ice storm from 94. And I was about 5 or 6, so I don't remember it. But I do remember I was in school until mid-June because of that, because we ran out of snow days.
Well, and that's the point here, right? You're saying when you're out of snow days, you essentially have to start making them up unless you get special permission from the state.
Right. And you can if there's a natural disaster. But I know we had that bad ice storm. I don't know what the rule was back then in 94, but we definitely had to make up those days.
Well, we're actually going to talk a little bit about that 94 ice storm later this hour with WPLN's Rose Gilbert. Camelia Burris covering education. I'm sure there's many more stories to tell in the coming days. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We need to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to talk safety. We'll clear the air on carbon monoxide. Local hospitals are seeing more people with the symptoms. As we all try to stay warm without power, we'll have the medical director of Tennessee Poison Control at Vanderbilt to help us understand the signs and symptoms. Plus, more of your voicemails and the mayor of Sumner County to give us an update from the Gallatin area. Stay with us. This is Nashville. I'm Blake Farmer, and this is Nashville. There are all sorts of new dangers lurking because of the snow and ice, and many of the calls we've been getting to the This is Nashville voicemail line this week have related to those particular hazards. Here's Stephen with his personal public service announcement.
The light is out at Franklin Road and Old Hickey Boulevard. It's a terrible intersection not to have a policeman there directing traffic, but people simply need to treat that like a four-way stop, and nobody recalls that from their driver's manual. If you could simply remind people, hey, when you come to a light that's not working, it is a four-way stop, because I'm quite amazed that we haven't had more multiple accidents with nobody to respond to them, because all the emergency responders are already swamped. So a friendly reminder that a non-working or flashing light is a four-way stop, and if everybody does what they're supposed to do, then it will work fine.
Stephen, who aced driver's ed, but you're right on the money. I mean, I saw somebody blast through an intersection on Hillsborough Road just last night. All right, and friend of the show, Professor Learotha Williams at Tennessee State University, he's had some concerns about driving too.
I was riding behind a semi and it was shedding ice, so I kind of backed off, and then a big plate of ice came off the top of the truck and smashed my windshield. And I saw it coming because it was moving in slow motion, and I saw it coming, but I didn't want to swerve because the roads were icy, and I actually got on a back road because I didn't want to encounter any trucks. And it hit right where the passengers would have been sitting and shattered my windshield. There's all kind of glass in the passenger seat. If somebody would have been sitting there, they would have been in bad shape. But even more so, if it would have came and hit me, y'all might have been looking for another Davidson County historian, man, because it was bad.
Wow, near miss there. Lee Williams, thanks for reminding us to clear that ice off your vehicle. Saw a bunch flying on the way here into the office in Metro Center. We'd love to hear what kind of concerns are popping up amid this extended storm recovery. Our voicemail line is always ready for you, 615-751-2500. We've had multiple fatalities in Middle Tennessee, and yesterday, Metro Police Chief John Drake announced a death that might be related to poor ventilation with a gas-powered heater.
The medical examiner's office is investigating the third potential storm-related death. In this particular incident, the individual was at home. His housemate found him unresponsive in a bedroom. When responding officers, when they responded, said they could smell fumes that was unventilated, and we believe that he succumbed to carbon monoxide poisoning. It's important to note that when you use a generator, make sure it's not indoors. It has to be outdoors, not in a garage, not in an attic or anywhere else. It has to be outdoors. Also, take advantage if you know someone that is staying in a home, they may be using a kerosene heater, maybe using a generator. If you can get out and check on them, do so. If you can't, let us know. The police and fire department don't mind going by to do welfare checks on houses. We have 180 detectives that we pulled off of investigations to supplement patrol just for these measures to go out and make sure people are fine.
That's Metro Police Chief John Drake saying that Metro Police happy to go do a welfare check if you know people are using something like a kerosene heater and you just want to make sure they're okay. Joining us live to talk about the signs and symptoms for carbon monoxide poisoning is Dr. Rebecca Bruccoleri, who is Medical Director of the Tennessee Poison Center at Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt. Thank you so much for joining us on This is Nashville.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. We are seeing a lot of carbon monoxide cases in the Tennessee Poison Center that have been reported to us. And signs and symptoms that everyone needs to look out for are actually flu-like symptoms. So if you start developing a headache, nausea, vomiting, fatigue, chest pain, these are dizziness. These are all symptoms to look out for carbon monoxide poisoning. It's clear, it's colorless, and it's odorless. So the only way you know if you have carbon monoxide in your home is through a carbon monoxide detector. And if you develop any of those symptoms in a home, you need to vacate the home immediately and seek medical attention.
Well, so you're seeing more. I saw a number that was close to 50, I think, in the last day or two, which I assume was just at Vanderbilt. Is that number continuing to go up?
Yeah, so we're still seeing additional cases coming in. I checked last night for our Poison Center data, and we cover the entire state of Tennessee. Yeah. And we had 107 cases that had occurred within the last week as of last night.
What is a case? Okay, so it's not just children, or that is just children?
Yeah, no, children and adults.
Are children more susceptible to carbon monoxide poisoning?
So children are more sensitive to it because of their small body size and the fact that they also breathe faster than adults do. Although generally they actually do better than adults do with carbon monoxide poisoning, but they are more sensitive to it acutely.
Yeah. So what would be the treatment? Like if somebody's coming in with symptoms, is there a way to treat it, or is fresh air the only real solution?
So we actually give patients oxygen for a varying number of hours, depending on how severely poisoned they are. And so that we can do in a hospital setting. In rare cases, when you can get access to one, Middle Tennessee does not actually have a hyperbaric chamber, but there are some in the state. For very severe cases, sometimes we try hyperbaric oxygen, but the data on that is somewhat controversial. So just doing normobaric, which means oxygen not in a chamber, is okay to do, and you can do that in any hospital setting.
You know, I'm just thinking of, I'll just think of personal experience sitting by a gas fireplace for days and days. You can just sort of almost freak yourself out. Like, am I getting, every time I'll smell some fumes and then think, oh, am I getting carbon monoxide? Then I remind myself, oh yeah, carbon monoxide's odorless. Is there a way that you could sort of just be safe? Like make sure to get some fresh air every once in a while, something like that? Help out the person who's suddenly thinking, do I need to turn off this fire?
Yeah, so one thing that is really advisable is to have a carbon monoxide detector in your home. You can buy multiple different models. off of Amazon. So that's one measure to have, and that will go off if there are dangerous levels of carbon monoxide. But I think that unfortunately, a lot of gas fireplaces are not meant for continuous use.
Yeah.
So if they, I know no one wants to go to a shelter, but the warming shelters that are available in the Nashville area, but it is preferable to the effects of carbon monoxide, and some of which can be fatal. So I think, if a home is not heated, and it's really hard to safely heat a home, that folks find another place to stay, either go to a hotel or shelter or stay with a friend.
Well, and I know, I couldn't bear to leave the thing on while sleeping there. And I know a lot of people are. So you're saying don't do that.
No, do not leave any heating sources on while sleeping.
Yeah, well, difficult situation for folks. So, but there are many warming shelters still, and they're not too hard to find. The list online if you can make it there. Any other recommendations that you've been offering to folks?
I think so. I've been recommending getting a carbon monoxide detector.
Right.
I think,
although it's very hard at this very moment if you need it right now. But I hear you.
Yes, it's harder right now. But I think when this, if you can get one now, great. If you can't, eventually things will get restocked, and make sure that everybody has one. I think this also goes that are important for to have in your home, especially any home that has any gas, sort of a gas water heater or gas heat that's involved with it. You really need a carbon monoxide detector in your home, and the EPA actually recommends them in each bedroom and on each level of a home. But it's also important to have these just in general to protect yourself. The other thing, though, that we are seeing is folks putting their cars in their garage and running even with the garage door open, thinking that it's safe, and it's not. So you can build up carbon monoxide in a garage even if the door is open. So it's very important not to do that. And then the other thing is not to run a generator inside the home. We've seen some really severe carbon monoxide poisoning from folks who have run it in the basement or the garage. I mean, it needs to be 25 feet from the home if you have a generator. The other thing is not to put like a charcoal grill or a propane heater or grill in the house, because that also will generate dangerous levels of carbon monoxide.
All right. Very helpful tips from Dr. Rebecca Bruccoleri at the medical director of Tennessee Poison Center at Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
If you're just tuning in, this is Nashville. I'm your host, Blake Farmer. We're still on storm and recovery. We're on the beat, but we're going to turn now to Sumner County, which has been very hard hit by the ice. Still, in the neighborhood of 5,000 people without power. Mayor John Isbell is the mayor of Sumner County, and joining us live on the line. Welcome to This Is Nashville.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, Mayor Isbell, I'm curious what areas are taking most of your attention right now?
Well, obviously it's going to be the back roads. Our main roads are pretty clear. You still have to be careful because it'll thaw and then refreeze at night. But our back roads are still in very bad shape. We're still removing trees as fast as we can and clearing paths. And the paths that we clear are for emergency vehicles. We really are trying to keep people off the roads as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like people are getting a little cabin fever. Noticed a lot more people out on the roads today. Are they, slowing down some of this work because there's more cars on the road?
No, not really. There's still our highway department's going full steam, and we have our electric. We got 3 different electric companies in Sumner County, NES, Cumberland, and Tri-County. So all 3 have been working very hard to get power restored across the county. Who
all's helping clear the trees in Sumner? We were talking earlier this hour about the National Guard starting to work in Davidson County. Have they been helping in Sumner as well?
We have not had the National Guard deployed in Sumner County. It's mostly been our highway department.
Really?
We have a road crew, and then the cities will take care of theirs. But the worst of the roads have been out in the county, especially in the northern end of the county.
Yeah. I'm sure you're getting this as people get power restored and they think, okay, now I can maybe help out with other people. They're hearing about hard hit areas and thinking, okay, well, what could I do to help? What would be most helpful for folks who are listening right now?
Well, we have some warming stations set up, and, we encourage people to use those. We try not to get into the hardest hit areas. We leave that to the professionals, simply because we don't want somebody in a two-wheel drive vehicle going back there and getting stuck themselves.
Yeah.
You're
saying volunteers are welcome there is a lot to do at a warming shelter, and volunteers would be helpful?
Yes, volunteers are welcome there. As we do thaw out, there'll be opportunities to go into people's yards and help them if requested. But we just don't want the volunteers out trying to clear the roads, because a lot of these trees will have power lines tangled in with them. And we really need the electric companies out working on those and making sure that no one is injured.
This seems to be the case all over, that people are really, especially when people are confined, you just sort of look out on your street and think, well, where are the crews? Where are the crews? What are you telling folks who are, getting a little impatient on day 5?
Oh, I totally understand the impatience, and it's just there. I truly believe our line crews are doing the very best they can. This is a wide path of destruction from this ice and trees falling, and it's just going to take time. And I know it's not what they want to hear, but I do know that our linemen are working as much as they can, just as our highway department's been working. I've been riding the roads with our highway superintendent and checking out the work, and they are all over the county working.
What's the worst part of the county?
It's the northern end of the county where we have a lot of hills.
So is that Westmoreland?
Westmoreland, over towards White House, Portland, all of those areas above the ridge. You start getting into a lot of hills.
Yep.
And that's where it's really treacherous.
Yeah. Well, do you think there's any? I know people are just trying to make plans. Like, what do we need to do for the next little bit? Especially if it's a family, there's kids involved. School. Is there any way schools are back Monday?
I don't know. They're talking about maybe another weather system coming in this weekend. So we're watching the forecast on that. We're just trying to get the temperatures above freezing, where we can melt what we've got.
Well, let me know when you figure out how to do that.
Absolutely.
John Isbell is the mayor of Sumner County. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you, and thank y'all for sharing the words.
Yeah. We need to take one more break. When we return, we'll revisit 1994 and our fuzzy memories of that ice storm. We'll look at making a living this week. And we're going to end over at Brown's Diner, where they're partying in the parking lot. There might actually be a free lunch for somebody here. Stay with us. This is Nashville. I'm Blake Farmer, and this is Nashville. One of the common refrains this week is, this reminds me of back in 1994. There was quite an ice storm that we endured back then. WPLN's Rose Gilbert has been collecting memories of 94, fuzzy as they may be, and she's here to help us all remember. Rose, welcome back to This is Nashville.
Hi.
All right, so Rose, I know you've been asking around for all of us who were here in Nashville 32 years ago, to recollect the ice storm. What have you heard?
Well, I certainly wasn't here for it, but many of my neighbors were. In fact, even before the storm hit, I was walking around my neighborhood in Hillsborough Village, and these two ladies who were getting ready for the snowstorm invited me in for banana bread. And kind of the first thing out of their mouths was they're just worried about losing power because they remember 94. And they described a lot of the same stuff we just went through, really badly damaged trees falling apart, sounding like explosions, transformers blowing, losing power for long periods of time. So that was really fresh in their memory. And what really stuck out to me was they said that was the reason they were preparing so much for this storm. That kind of having lived through 94, they were like, I'm not going to get stuck without adequate supplies again. I'm going to really, really put my back into this one. But yeah, I just heard that again and again, both from neighbors and from officials. Mayor Freddie O'Connell said it. The vice president and head of operations and innovation at Nashville Electric Service said it. 94 has really been used as the benchmark to measure how this ice storm is going.
Yeah. I guess how old was I? 12 years old at the time in East Nashville. I remember being out of school for a long time. I remember I have a vivid memory of using our Coleman camping stove indoors, which is not wise. We've talked about carbon monoxide and ventilation today, but I think we left a door open or something. But I don't remember how long we were out of school or anything like that. Rose, we have so much more data these days, even in real time, about what's going on. I mean, 94, you're almost you were pre-internet. Do we know how this week compares to that week in 94?
So, you mentioned the technology. We definitely have access to more live updates these days. If you have cell service, even if your internet's been knocked out, you're probably getting text updates for NES, even if they're not always bringing glad tidings. You're able to, get Twitter updates from, the Department of Transportation or the local police department about what roads are drivable. 94, you're relying a lot more on radio. Of course, we're still here. And so that was one big difference. But I would also say, the city is more prepared this time than last time. We own more snow plows. We put together a more comprehensive plan ahead of the snowstorm. The problem is it looks like this storm may have also been even more severe than 94. So even though there might have been more preparation, recovery is going kind of slowly. And a lot of people are starting to get frustrated and worried about, power outages kind of wearing on, especially in these extremely cold temperatures.
Yeah, well, I think we can rest assured that we will be talking about the ice storm of 2026 for quite some time. Rose Gilbert, thanks for your reporting on 1994, and stay warm.
Thank you. You too, Blake.
If you're just tuning in, this is Nashville, and I don't know about you, but it's been difficult to work this week. No matter what you do, even if you are working, work is harder. If you are working remotely, that is hard. Some people have jobs where they can maybe just focus on family things and getting through the weather, but others are trying to juggle it all, especially, folks who have remote work. And then others still are having trouble just kind of making a living because everything's at a standstill. We're going to bring in Nadine Moore, who's the owner of Berea Babe, a ghost kitchen, a takeout place, whose kitchen is on Nolensville Road. Nadine Moore, welcome to This is Nashville.
Hi. Hello.
Well, what
How
are you? So people love Berea Babe. Even saw Mayor Freddie O'Connell partaking recently on your Instagram page. How are you cooking this week?
So unfortunately, I just got home. We have been evacuated to Clarksville at families, and our pipe burst. So we're kind of into this interim process where we're not sure what the future holds for us.
Wait, you're talking about your house or your commercial kitchen on Nolensville Road?
Our house.
Oh, no.
Our house. Luckily, the commercial kitchen is a commissary kitchen, so they're okay right now. But we're reiterating our entire home right now and trying to, grab new clothes, new couches, new beds, everything has to be replaced. So we just realized that literally 15 minutes ago. So you just caught me hot on the press. Literally, we're just figuring out our lives
wow.
and what that means right now, because my husband and I cook everything from scratch ourselves, and we have to uproot ourselves right now. So it's going to be kind of hard to get back online.
So when we asked you to come on the show, you were concerned about getting your kitchen going, and now you're concerned about, everything else.
Yeah, literally everything's just changed in the last hour, I think.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, so we were preparing to open the weekend after this, and now I don't even know what the future holds for us. I'm going to have to relocate. Luckily, we do have family in Clarksville, so I have somewhere warm to stay. But yeah, we're going to have to do some uprooting and kind of refreshing. Luckily, we do have our home at Casa Azafran, so we will be returning there as soon as we get settled back into a living situation that we can do for a little while until we can figure ourselves out.
But it strikes me that there's a lot of people who, the storm, their business sort of grinds to a halt, which also means their income stops or is paused because of the weather, which is challenging to navigate. How are y'all hoping to, kind of make ends meet with this disruption?
Yeah, and I think I speak for every business owner, especially ones who have lost power inside their businesses or inside their homes right now. January is a really rough month for all of us, and this is one of the hardest months for us in sales. And with that, in addition, right now, our future is definitely questionable on when our next paycheck is going to be able to be produced. And that means that we're going to be digging into our savings. And luckily, I have been putting a little bit aside with a small business. It's very hard. But I was able to put a little bit aside for our emergency fund. And we will be digging deep into that for the next few weeks.
Well, does your kitchen have power? Like if you had the time and space and maybe energy to get Berea Babe back online, is the Casa Azafran kitchen that a lot of ghost kitchens sort of use, is that got power now?
Yeah, so luckily that space didn't lose power, and that was like my biggest fear because we have some really expensive meats and stuff in the freezing and department, and it was just a big fear of me to lose all of those hundreds of dollars of proteins. And so luckily we did not lose our base of the kitchen there. It is still available for us. There are still people like Chaiwala creating their products there now. Luckily Hummus Chick, a couple other people, we didn't lose our things, so that was like a really big deal for us. We were calling each other immediately when the storm hit, like, does the kitchen have power? Did we lose everything? Because that's a lot of money going down the drain for us tiny businesses. So luckily that is our hub and that is our home still available. Once we get our feet on the ground and kind of reiterate, go to the thrift store, get some new clothes, I think in about a week or two we will be able to open back up. It's just going to be a really bumpy road for the next few weeks.
Yeah. Well, and then do I understand correctly that you will also operate a food truck? So like when the weather warms up, is that what's happening?
Yeah, so, and that's kind of a great thing. So we are at Casa Azafran right now. So that is our, we're doing what is like a ghost kitchen, a takeout kitchen there. But normally in the summertime, we hop around starting in March once all the snow goes away. We'll be back on the roads and we'll be hopping in Centennial Park and touring all over the city and back to kind of what we normally do. But during the winter, we do a takeout kitchen and right out of Casa Azafran. So I can't wait to be able to return to that as soon as I get my whole situation settled down.
All right, just because, frankly, I haven't had lunch yet and I'm hungry, can you whet my appetite for a moment? What's the Berea Babe specialty that if you were cooking today that you might serve me from your takeout window?
Yeah. Definitely ramen weather right now. I think a hot bowl of soup is all we need right now. Birria is a Mexican stew, so it already starts off as a soup with a rich broth. We do beef, chicken, lamb, lots of spices in that soup, but then you put it inside some ramen noodles with some cheese and cilantro and onion, and it's just a very, very comforting meal. Our birria ramen is one of our top fillers, and in general, I think our consomme, I think I would give you a warm cup of consomme right now is our beef broth, so you can just warm your soul up because it's really flavorful, but honestly, it cures all ails, and I think right now we need a good cup of consomme.
Sounds amazing. So I don't say it wrong again, can you please pronounce the name of your takeout restaurant?
Yeah, it's Birria Babe.
Birria Babe.
Birria Babe. Yeah.
Well, this is Nadine Moore of Birria Babe, who's dealing with it all. A burst pipe in her home, trying to get Birria Babe back up and running the next couple of weeks. Thanks so much, and best of luck.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Take care.
Well, tough times for businesses and restaurants for sure, and some though who've still had power and have the bandwidth to do it are kind of trying to meet this moment. I saw Edley's, one of my favorite barbecue spots that are open, and they're offering free pork barbecue sandwiches to anyone without power. I think the deal's still running. So other folks who are doing all sorts of deals, trying to help the community out because we all need a warm cup of something right now. We've got WPLN's Justin Barney, who I think this morning was looking for a good excuse for a free lunch, headed down to Brown's Diner. Justin Barney, how are you?
Dude, I hate to be so outed like that.
Well, all right.
You called me at the right time because I've been here for an hour and a burger was just put in front of my face.
Oh, man. Well, I'm glad that you haven't. Well, maybe you have taken a bite yet. But so I understand that Brown's Diner. What do they not? They lost power and they're like, before this food goes bad, let's cook it up and give it away.
That is basically exactly it. Brown's Diner over here, been around here for 100 years. So I talked to the owner, Brent, and he said that last week he put in a $15,000 order for meat. And he said it's got a shelf life of 5 days. And so they lost power in the storm. They lost heat. They've had nothing. But they do have this trolley in the parking lot, if you've ever seen it.
Did you say trolley?
Propane. A trolley. Yes, that doubles as a food trolley, if you will. And he said, "Hey, this food is going to go bad if we don't do something with it." And he was thinking about donating it to a food bank. And then he was like, "Wait a second, why don't I just throw a party and invite everybody over?" And so that's exactly what we did. Let me tell you, spirits are high out here, my guy. We got kids throwing footballs. We had a musician in there. There's somebody playing violin. And I was like, "Did they ask you to do this?" She was like, "No, I play here pretty frequently. And I figured that the occasion might just call for it." And she was right.
Well, listen, maybe they're just excited because it's warmer than it's been in several days, too, and it's going to get colder. So in this moment, maybe you just want to go play violin outside because it's 34 degrees,
Absolutely.
So
and let me tell you, the line is like around the block right now. Word is getting out.
Well, it is, remind me, Brown's Diner in Germantown, correct?
No, it's on here on 21st and Hillsborough Village.
Excuse me, I'm thinking of another spot. So 21st and Hillsborough Village, is there power anywhere around there, or is everybody coming out because they really got nowhere warm to be anyway?
It's a little bit of both. They went across the street to Kroger to get some beer to nourish the community, and it looks like Kroger has power. And some people were telling you that they had power. Some people didn't. Some people, I think people just miss being around other people, And so it's like everybody's kind of gathered up. Everyone's in good spirits and eating some warm food.
Well, so are they just serving? I'm guessing there are people listening thinking, should I make a trek down there? Are they just cooking it up until it's gone?
They're cooking it up until it's gone. They said 3 or 4 o'clock, but we got a line going around the place inside. They got the inside like heating area with no heaters right now.
Body heat only.
So many people that body heat only. They got a smoker going. He said that once they run out of burgers, chili dogs are next. So maybe people do want to get in line.
All right. If you want a cheeseburger, go quick. If you're okay with a chili dog, you can maybe walk, not run. Justin Barney, enjoy your warm cheeseburger. I hope it's still warm, and thanks for making time for us.
Yeah, thanks for letting me call in. It's a blast.
All right. Well, and I'm sure there's a story forthcoming that I can only imagine will be grade A material. The press conference for Metro Nashville that we aired part of yesterday during the show is actually about to happen right now over on YouTube. I believe the link is something like youtube.com/@Metro something, and we're going to have a link to it on the show post for today's show at WPLN.org. This is Nashville's a production of Nashville Public Radio. Today's episode was produced by the team: Josh Deepen, Mary Mancini, Liv Lombardi, Tasha A.F. Limley, our managing editor, making it all happen for you this week. The masterminds behind that theme music, LaRange and Namir Blade. Special thanks to David and Mary Michael Marlowe for lending me their truck so I could get around since our cars are all blocked in. Thanks to so many people who are making life happen right now. Our voicemail box is a happening place at the moment. We're going to have more storm coverage recovery next week. What questions or concerns do you have? Are you thinking about insurance claims, tree trimming? The number is 615-751-2500. You can also find us on Instagram at thisisnashville_WPLN. Quick note, if you want to watch the Metro presser for the latest, and we'll have more for you at WPLN.org on this, but that's youtube.com/Metro Nashville. I'm Blake Farmer. Go in peace.